Hi everybody, this is my channel Mimi Heba. Welcome to my channel. My name is Vicky. Hello once again, and thank you so much for being a part of this channel. I truly appreciate your time and your energy. In my channel, I do talk or share my life experiences as well as some insights that I've gained through them. And in so doing, my intention and my hope for this channel and for you is that there'll be something here that will either inspire, either motivate, educate you. So if that feels like it resonates with you, please feel right at home in this channel. Today's video, I wanted to explore the topic of being alone. It's December, we've come to the time of the year that is arguably the most sort of social time, the time when we are going to be meeting up. We have family dinners or family events or social events. Our social event calendar is full for some of us, but during this time it also sometimes can trigger some feelings, some emotions, especially if there's been some changes in structure or in your life that could have resulted in a change of what has been tradition. I dare say that the last 2-3 years it's been a shakeup for most of us in our lives in regards to what we have in the past termed as tradition, and we're continuously being challenged and it's like the universe is asking us to really review through the shakeups and through the changes that have transpired, that have occurred in the last 3 years. I did go through my own change in 2019 on a very personal level. I went through a separation in September 2019 after having been married for 6 years. And around that time, if you can imagine, September was leading up to, my birthday in November, and then to the holiday season in December. And that change, that separation triggered for me, it changed everything. It changed what my plans had been. It changed some of the things that I had done traditionally based on the fact that I was married. And it really began this process for me of understanding what it is to be alone, why I was going through that, that transition, if I can call it that. And now, 3 years on, I can look back and see the significance, see the purpose, the higher purpose, the divine purpose of having gone through not only the separation, I'm not going to be talking about that in this video, but of also going through that time of being alone, what that did for me. But at the time, it was very tough. It was very hard to go through that process. And I thought that I'd share my experience because I think that sometimes it's good to hear what someone has been through so that we all know that we're not alone in this journey, that some of us are going through and some of us have been through, and we can encourage each other, we can share stories, we can support each other as we navigate through these changes, as we navigate through these times. So, as I said, I really wanted to talk or to discuss about being alone. So I live alone. I did find myself making that transition of now living alone. And it was hard because I'd come from a situation where I was with someone pretty much 24/7 for a good period of, a good chunk of my 9 years before that. And so it really was a huge shift. And, recalling back, remembering what I was going through at the time was just trying to even figure out and understand who I was. I realized that I had hardly spent time with myself, that I didn't know who I was. And it felt strange that I had to now be alone. It didn't feel right. And because it didn't feel right, I felt the urge to try and fill up that space and fill up my time with events or with occasions or with things or with people. But as you'd have it, God had a higher purpose. And as much as I tried to either the plans fell apart, it didn't work out, it just didn't happen. And it was clear that this was a season that I was meant to be alone, and this was a season that I was meant to learn a few great lessons about being alone. And I truly did. I truly learned a lot throughout this season of being in solitude, of being by myself. And I'm going to share those stories of what I learned. The first thing I learned, the first lesson I learned, and one that I've been, it's been like thinking over and over again, because this is such a very common misconception that being alone equals to being lonely. And at the beginning, that's exactly what I thought, that the fact that I'm alone, I'm going to be lonely. It means that I'm lonely. And that's not necessarily the case. Just because we are alone doesn't mean that we are lonely. And conversely, just because we are not alone, just because we're in the midst of people, doesn't mean that we are not going to experience loneliness. So the two of them are not, they are not, they don't go hand in hand. You could be lonely when you're in the midst of a group of people. You could be lonely in a marriage. You could be lonely in a relationship. And sometimes we're not aware of that. We're not aware of the fact. Sometimes we are. Sometimes we're very unconscious of the idea that, yes, we're in a partnership, we're in a relationship, but we are experiencing loneliness. I have come across the definition of loneliness as this, and I'm going to read it because I thought it's a good definition. Loneliness is often not a lack of company. It is a lack of quality connection with your deeper self. And that is true. And for me, being alone began that process of integrating me with my inner self. It began that process of unleashing, if I can call it that, or uncovering, or getting to learn the true me, getting into a relationship with who I was. Because the price I paid of being in the midst of people, of being in a marriage, was I lost me. I lost the essence of who I was. I lost touch of my inner self. And so when that period of separation came, it's no surprise that I found myself to be a stranger, in a sense, for lack of a better description. I found myself being uncomfortable being alone. It felt wrong. And even saying that, uttering that now, seems so ridiculous. That why would you feel that? Like, you know yourself, you've always been with yourself. But as long as we have distractions, as long as we are busy in life, we can lose touch of our true authentic selves. We can lose touch of who we are. And it's in that process of losing touch of who we are, of losing touch of our inner self, that we start picking up the noises, the external conditioning, the external voices of other people. And we begin to follow those voices, thinking that those are our intuition, that those are our voices, that those are the ones that are directing us. And so this break, this period, this phase that I've been by myself has been a recalibration. It's been a time, it's been a season that has taken me back to who I was. And now that I've come full circle, now that I enjoy my company so much, now that I now know the value of who I am, I understand the importance of why it is so crucial for us to know who we are, why it is so important for us to spend time with ourselves, to be comfortable with our company, with our own company. If you're not comfortable with your own company, don't expect someone else to be comfortable with your company. It all has to start from within. And that journey of starting from within is exactly this. It's exactly spending time by ourselves. Now, granted, the first few times it's going to feel uncomfortable, it's going to feel lonely, it's going to feel weird, it's going to feel strange. It's a grieving process as well, because you're losing a part of what you thought was you. So there's grief involved in that. And so one of the things that I highly promote in discovering who you are is self-care, is doing those things that are healing. So whatever it is for you, for me, I know my healing practices, one of my best healing practices is watching something that's funny, is watching comedy. If I want to get myself in a good mood, I just put a good comedy and I laugh my heart out and I'm good to go. And I began doing that in 2019 just to lift my spirits, just to make sure that I'm in a good place. If it's music for you, if it's listening to music or dancing, do it. If it's going for a walk, if it's going to the gym, whatever gets you back to who you are, healing that inner self, so taking care of yourself, whatever that looks like, that's what you're trying to figure out. That's what you're trying to get to. And this season of being alone can really help us to seek out and to know and to peel all those layers of being told who we are. As we unpeel, as we peel them back, we get to our authentic selves. And the way we learn who we are is through us. It's through trial and error. It's through rediscovering what gives us joy. And that's what begins that healing process. That's what begins making us whole. So don't feel guilty about doing some good acts to yourself. Remember, charity begins at home. This is a phrase that you'll hear me say over and over again. You cannot give to someone else what you haven't given to yourself, and you cannot receive from someone else what you haven't received within yourself. So you cannot give love, you cannot give acceptance to someone if you've not given that to yourself. It all begins from within. It all begins from home. It all begins from self. And you cannot receive from someone what you haven't received within yourself or from yourself. So self-care, self-acceptance, self-love, all these things, they're not selfish. They are self-care, they are self-preserving, and they're helping us ground ourselves so that we can be whole, and so that when we go out to the world, we give the best of who we are, and we receive the best because we know our value, we know who we are. And so once we know who we are, we know what we can accept and what is not for us. And no one is telling us that. So moving on to the lessons that I learned, throughout this process, I have to say this process of this season has been one of my most illuminating seasons of my life. I have grown so much within these 3 years than I've ever grown in my 30 odd years before, right? Like, I have had so much growth that has taken place. The most significant of has been just knowing myself and trusting my intuition and trusting my instincts. And that has proven to do that. There's so much wisdom within ourselves, and we all hold this power. We all hold this gift within ourselves and within us. Unfortunately, we grow up in a society that shuts down our intuition, that tells us to quieten down that inner voice that we have, our gut feeling, our gut instincts. And so as I say, there are so many layers that are built on that. The layers that are built on that are based on other people's thinking, right? Or are based on the layers of what people expect of you, the layers of what people think you should do or how you should live your life. And so, doing away or peeling back those layers helps us get to the core of who we are, helps us get back to our authenticity, and helps us be aligned to our inner self. And right there is where you'll find inner fulfillment. That's where you're going to find happiness. You'll be whole. And that's where then, because loneliness, when you experience loneliness, that's exactly what it's telling you. It's telling you that you're detached. There's a detachment of you, your outer self, from your inner self. And so once you begin to do that work of finding yourself, of knowing yourself and knowing who you are, you're able to reattach yourself. You're able to align yourself. You're able to go back to who you truly are and reconnect. That's the word, reconnect with your inner self. And once you reconnect with your inner self, then right there is where you're going to find inner peace, inner happiness, inner fulfillment. And that intuition, that amazing gift that we've been gifted, every one of us has it. That is our unique navigation system that lets us know what the path to take, that lets us know what our mission here is on earth, that lets us know what our future holds for us, that helps us navigate this life. Nobody has the answers for your life than you. I have the answers to my life. So, and I tap into those answers, or I get those answers through tapping into my intuition. And in the same way, you within you have all the answers to your own life. And you can be able to gain access to those answers through being able to tap back to your inner self, to be able to get back to who you are authentically, to know who you are, and then to live that life and to live in your full alignment, to live in your full purpose. And that, it creates value. It adds value to your life, and it adds value to the people around you. So, what else? Rediscovering myself has helped me live an authentic life. I think I've mentioned that. It's taken me away from being trapped by dogma, which is living with the results of other people's thinking. And this can be so unconscious, living with the results of other people thinking. And I was, I was one of them. I was definitely guilty of this, living unconsciously and not really understanding the why as to the intention behind the choices that I was making. And being in this space and being in this season has helped me start asking that question consistently. Why am I doing what I'm doing? Because once I figure out my why, then I know what my next step to do is. Then I know whether that is what I should do. But if I'm not asking myself why, then it means that I am not really consciously making the decisions, and I'm not consciously living. So being able to do away with dogma has again realigned me, has taken me back to on course with my life purpose and with my, with my life purpose. And that goes for the fact that it has helped me clear out other people's opinion, which then helps me tap into my own voice, my own inner inner voice and inner wisdom, and being able to distinguish, having that discernment of that's someone else's opinion, and that's fine, but that doesn't, if it doesn't align with me, I don't have to abide by that opinion. I can choose to either accept it or to not accept it for myself. People are allowed to hold their opinions, people are allowed to even voice their opinions, but where you draw the line and where there's a boundary, or for me, where I've drawn the line and where I set boundaries is, I respect your opinion, but I don't have to take on your opinion. I don't have to accept it for myself. If I hold a different opinion, I can respect that as being your opinion and me holding a different opinion to what you do. And that is huge. That's a big thing to do. I think we live in a world where people expect that we all hold one universal opinion. And, in most subjects and in most cases, we are going to hold different opinions. We're going to hold different truths. And that's fine. And we can be able to coexist as people who hold different opinions and who hold different truths for themselves. That's okay. That's fine. We can be able to respect each other and respect the fact that we are all entitled to have our own truth, what we believe our truth to be, what we believe our narrative, and what we believe and to hold our own opinions. But we don't have to impose our opinions on others, and neither do other people have to impose their opinions on us. And that's being able to, having gone through this process of being alone, and this season of being alone has helped strengthen that ability in me, that I can be able to hold my own, I can be able to have my own opinion and respect other people and other people's opinion, and leave it at that, and not have to take on their opinion as mine. So this is a short video. I'm gonna leave it here. I'm gonna leave it with this phrase that I read. We might find that the people, places, and things we used to love are not so inviting to us now. Sometimes our frequency shifts, and it's time for us to move on where there is an empty fallow space, and that is okay. To move on where there is an empty fallow space, and that is okay. It's part of the grieving process. It's one of the signals that we've changed and don't fit in the spaces we were trying to cram ourselves in. A season of void, when we are shifting, when we are growing, there's that space and that time when there's a void. And that is a space of being alone, when we are shifting from one frequency, or we're shifting from who we were and we're moving to another space, and we're growing and we're evolving. Being able to be comfortable in that season, to understand that it's part of the process, is also a gift that comes with understanding that it's okay to spend time alone, that it's part of an integration. It's part of us clearing out the old so that we can create space for the new. And that realization for me has brought me so much peace. It has brought me so much happiness. It has also allowed me to move from a place of tolerating being alone to enjoying this time and appreciating this time of being alone. And it's something that now comes from within. It's something that I'm absolutely comfortable with. And so, I'm glad in retrospect for what it has done for me. I truly respect the season that, these 3 years, what that has done for me in terms of understanding my strengths, understanding the wisdom, the inner wisdom that I hold and that we all hold, and that can be hidden, we can hide with a lot of distractions and a lot of external things, and that if we only took time to rediscover ourselves, what we can unleash, the cornucopia of wisdom that we hold within ourselves. So I truly hope that this inspires you, that if you're going through this season and maybe it's at the beginning and it's not clear yet what the purpose is, it does make sense when you look back and when you connect the dots backwards. If it's not making sense right now, so hang in there, hold, be steadfast. It's all gonna make sense in due time. So with that, I will leave this video here. I truly thank you for being a part, for listening. I hope there's something here that has encouraged you, that you've learned, that has, inspired you. If there's something you'd love to share, if you are going through this, or if you experienced this and you want to share what the experience was like for you and what lessons you've learned, definitely I would love to hear from you. So hit the comment section below. Otherwise, until next time, do take care of yourself. I wish you so much love